Welcome back to the Sports Source. This segment brought to you by Southeast Termite and Pest Control. The weather is cold outside, so how many creepy crawlies have snuck into your home for a long winter's nap? If you spot spiders, ants, or worse in your house, then you need to call the folks who I call to protect my house, Southeast Termite and Pest Control. Terrific company, terrific people, good family-owned business, like so many of my clients here on the Sports Source that bring you the show every week. SoutheastTermite.com to learn more. I can't recommend them any more highly than I do right now in saying I use them, you should use them. You'll be happy if you do. Southeast Termite and Pest Control. All right. Let's introduce the people. Josh is back with us right here, VFL Well Overstreet. VFL Marlon Walls right here, like the jacket. And Bob Hodge right there, a longtime member of this show. Bob, thanks for being here.
Glad to be here.
Let's get to the poll question. We haven't put it up until now, but there it is, today's poll. In terms of Nico's hype train, I am needing to see more, upping my expectations, buying playoff tickets. Right now, 52% of you say upping my expectations. You got a QR code right there. Use your smartphone, get a click on that. That'll take you to our website, or you can just go straight to the website, sportsource.tv/polls. Punch in your answer, and we want to track that. You'll see the little lines move as we go here. It'll take a second to get going, but 52% on upping my expectations, although we'll talk a little bit later about somebody who's basically saying go buy the playoff tickets. Let's put up the game gauge. We did this all during the regular season. Here's how it turned out during a 35-0 win against Iowa in the Citrus Bowl, just as everyone projected, a 35-0 win. Tennessee needs to hit 150 rushing yards. They went for 232 against a defense that had only allowed 200 yards once all season rushing the ball. So tremendous performance. They did yards per rush only 4.3, not 4.5, but they still won the game. Yards per play, they were over their 5.0 number that they like to hit. Had 5 sacks instead of 3. Could have had 20 against that quarterback who, he didn't run the Statue of Liberty play. He was the Statue of Liberty back there. All right. Look, when this bowl game was announced, I said it's the best thing in the world for Tennessee. You get a big bowl, New Year's Day bowl. This bowl always gets a lot of eyeballs, and you're playing a team that can't score. And then I spent the next 2 weeks reading about all Tennessee's opt-outs and the numbers. And I'm like, okay, that's more yardage off, more points off, more snaps they haven't played. And I talked myself out of it, stupidly. So Tennessee goes out and rolls Iowa. That's great. But the real story, what everybody's coming out of that game talking about, Nico Iamaleava, the $8 million man we questioned earlier, would he be worth the money? It's a short glimpse, but in his first start, Josh Ward, your take on Nico.
Yeah, James Pierce Jr. on defense almost scored 2 touchdowns by himself for Tennessee, and he struggled to get some headlines because of all the excitement around what Nico was able to do. And Dylan Sampson had a really good game on the ground, running the football, taking over the starting position. But Nico's poise and running the offense, I think, is what excited people. That and his ability to get into the end zone, the playmaking in the red zone, which Tennessee has lacked at times this season. I think he showed most people everything they hoped. I mean, those early poll results would show it as well, to then build into 2024. He has to improve. Overall, the stats are not going to wow you in what he did. I think it's the way that he played the game that has people excited.
Yeah, 150 yards passing. Next year, people will be screaming about that. Mm-hmm. But the way they started out, and against a defense that was pretty good all year long, he was impressive. Will, what was your take on the debut?
His command of the offense and the mistake-free, that you didn't see a lot of what you thought were busts or mental errors, that he was ready to play, that he had that poise. I think that's what really people came out of this with. He didn't look like that freshman or first-time starter, and so you saw a lot of that. Now, you did see some things that you're like, okay, we'll have to watch for that. The things like he held the ball too long a couple times. He should have thrown it away. They were easy decisions of, hey, I don't need to take a sack right here. This is going to hurt the team. So there are definitely things you saw that as a young player I thought I would see. Yeah. But overall, I thought, he came out and played as well as I would have thought a player in that position that hadn't played very much football against a team in that stage. Hey, you come out and play like that, that's really good. And so I thought it was a really good sign to see that from him at this stage.
Marlon, the one thing that bothered me about Joe Milton all year, and I kept saying it all, decisiveness. He was indecisive. Nico was decisive. If he knew he was going to run, he ran.
Yep.
If he picked a receiver, he threw it. There was not a lot of, what should I do here, that you would expect from a guy making his first start. Yep. He looked decisive to me, which impressed me. What was your overall take?
Overall take, Tennessee football is back.
Wow.
Tennessee football is back. Here's the reason why I say that. With Heupel, we knew his system. We knew he's an offensive guy. We're going to score a lot of points. I felt like we got that the first 2 years. And then this year, it goes back to indecisive Joe Milton, and it didn't look the same. We're throwing a lot of side, screens there. I think with Nico, what I saw was he brings another element. I can run the football, but then also he's a gunslinger. He has that mentality. We're going to score points. I think what you talked about right there, Will, we've got to clean up the sacks. But I think that's a mentality of his. I'm trying to extend the play. Hey, be with me. Go a little bit further. I'm going to throw the ball to you. So I think we've got that gunslinger mentality back. I think the offense is going to score a lot of points. And so that's what I mean when I say Tennessee football is back.
Bob, one thing that you can't, it's a hypothetical, you can't answer this, but how many plays last year or 2 years ago got made because Hooker extended a play, kept it alive and made a play, versus this year where Milton really couldn't extend a play. It was either I'm going to sort of try to run, I'm going to fall down, or I'm going to throw it. There's no, I'm going to make something happen, this thing's broken down. It does look like Nico's the kind of guy that could bring that back to your offense.
Yeah, I was actually impressed by the fact that Iowa got 6 sacks, and he didn't fold under that kind of pressure. And there were other times when he didn't get sacked, but he still had a lot of pressure. Let's say he was really pressured a dozen times, maybe more. That's when you expect a freshman to make a freshman mistake. That's the reason, if I was doing your poll right now, I'm upping expectations, maybe not overall for the team, but for Nico. Because I thought for what he looked like as a true freshman in a game against a good defense, which is now everybody's downgrading that Iowa defense. Wow, man, 35-0. No, that was a good defense. And he went out there and he looked, statistics-wise, average. Eye test, well above average.
The other thing that stood out to me was, and this is not to, a lot of people have said he held the ball too long, took a couple of sacks he didn't need to, and I agree. At the same time, I'd rather him do that than throw the ball into the other guy's arms.
Absolutely.
And to me, that's more likely to come from a freshman. So I think they'll coach the other.
He didn't even have a pass that was close to being
exactly.
intercepted.
They didn't. It's not like they dropped it. I think they'll coach. You hope they'll coach him up, and he'll realize when to get rid of the ball. Timing will change. But I was just impressed. You go out there against a good defense under that kind of pressure. You didn't throw it up for grabs. You didn't turn it over. You didn't make a goofy grenade pass of any kind.
Yeah, you didn't throw the bouquet behind your back.
Yes, exactly.
You're okay.
We talked about his ability to throw on the run last week, his throw toward the right sideline where Keaton makes a really good catch as well. The toughest play he had to make, and he made that one. But that throw, that ability on the run, that's the talent that we've all talked about with Nico, and he showed it on that kind of play.
Yeah.
I say the other one, too, where Keaton, lost the ball in the sun. That's a touchdown. You know what I mean? So that's Nico improvising.
And that was the
ball out
absolute
there.
right place to put it.
Yeah,
I mean,
most definitely.
that was a perfect on the pylon, basically.
Tell you what, this is a perfect tease. When we come back, we talked about Nico. What about his supporting cast? Because it looked to me like he had the same group of receivers being kind of average out there that Joe Milton had playing for him. What about the offensive line? We'll talk more about Nico. We'll talk more about his supporting cast next on the Sports Source. Come on back.